they got to call ahead because they don't want to see a police lieutenant shanked in booking, now going down to Doremus. Corrections officers helped me. They cleared the room, processed, fingerprinted, booked. And then if you think of Oz, you think of the Shawshank Redemption, you think of every bad prisoner movie you've ever seen. I'm living it.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
This is a way we get rid of the problem.
Which is it's not uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really not uncommon. I saw it in my department. They used the prosecutor's office as a weapon. They weaponized it, and a very dear friend of mine, all he's guilty of is trying to keep his marriage together.
Yeah.
He did it a little too long, but at the end, and this will tell you what kind of relationship it was. He got custody of the children. Yeah, he got custody of the children. Fought tooth and nail, lost his house, lost everything, but at least he had custody of his children.
That's hope.
Yeah,
that's the brass ring,
and that's worth something worth fighting for to the last penny.
You're looking at the face of hope right now. The face of suffering and the face of hope at the same time. So here we go. I'm there, and they're telling me now it's going to be on a warrant. We're taking you to the Essex County Jail.
With people that you locked up back in
Green Street or Doremus?
Doremus.
Oh, that place smells.
Uh-huh. I can tell you from personal experience. I can. You know what's funny is I thought in my head, this is how goofy we are as cops. I'm thinking of the joke I'm going to give at lineup. I was like, is anybody going to do a transport to Doremus? I know the way in 2 different levels.
You can give me a ride home.
Yeah. So I'm now there. They got all my personals, belt, laces, everything there. And now they got to call ahead. They got to call ahead because they don't want to see a police lieutenant shanked in booking, now going down to Doremus. Corrections officers helped me. They cleared the room, processed, fingerprinted, booked. And then if you think of Oz, you think of the Shawshank Redemption, you think of every bad prisoner movie you've ever seen. I'm living it. I am a white police lieutenant going into the Essex County Jail, and they are hurling as I'm doing the walk. I had the blanket. I had strip searched.
It's always fun when you got to spread your cheeks.
Yeah.
I did that in rehab. That was fun.
And this wasn't even recreationally. So every bad thing you can imagine, I'm walking there and I'm seeing the look. The one guy before I went in the cell, he looked at me like this and just puts his finger under his throat, like slitting my throat. Like that's coming for me.
That'll humble you.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I said, holy God almighty. And I prayed. And
what did you pray for? Did you pray for a quick death?
Yeah, no
or
kidding.
to get out alive?
Yeah, I was thinking like a brain aneurysm right now would be even welcomed.
Yeah.
I really said, I can't be, the merit award, the academy, lieutenant, SWAT
and
team.
You can't picture yourself in that position at all. I mean, can't even fathom it.
And now you're walking into the 7th level of hell.
And I got to tell you, the guys that did the transport, I know they felt bad.
Yeah.
I know how they felt. It doesn't make it any easier. I have some views on the prosecutor's office. So there, I figure, all right, I'm overnight, hearing next day, I'll be out. Nope. Day 1. Night 1. Day 2.
Before you go there.
Yeah.
First time that door closes. I ask everybody I've ever spoken to that has done any sort of time. That because they say as soon as that door closes, that's about as rehabilitated as you're going to get.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first day that door closed.
I actually felt almost for a minute that I had a pause, like, like I was isolated because I was scared. I was scared for my life. I was very active in arrests, drug interdiction, traffic interdiction. I was writing Title 39. I was towing cars. I was locking people up. I was doing the dance. And I was scared. And when they closed the door, I was like, all right, at least, a
little safety at that point.
It really was my first thought, but it was a sense of dread. That sound that you hear in movies, I heard it.
Meet your new cellmate. He's the salad tosser guy.
He came back. The guy, they actually had to throw the guy out of my cell, and he kept coming back. And he said, you know, in the vernacular, like, what the fuck you doing here? And I was like, I got to do something a little gangster to kind of get a little bit of street cred here. And I just went like this. I did a little thing with the...
Which you're not lying.
No.
Yeah.
I just did, you know, the gesture with my finger and thumb like in a gun. And I was like, you know, maybe that'll give him a little pause. But then one day turned into 2 days. And by the fourth day, had a hearing, and they had to move me for my own safety. They then transported me to the Bergen County Jail. And when they I went in the van on the chain gang with everybody else. I'm hearing them, and there had one segregated cell in the prisoner transport van. And, you know, there's most of the guys I was in there with were people of color, and they look at me handcuffed. And the only thing I could say, they're giving me to look sideways, and they're thinking, this guy must be Hannibal fucking Lecter.
Cyrus the Virus.
Yeah.
It's you right there.
They figured this guy must have, like, what did he do? You know? But, you know, obviously the fact that I was a cop was not coming out. So I went to Bergen for a total of 12 days in jail as a lieutenant. I was a lieutenant one day, and the next day
I was going to say, you had what was bail set at?
no bail.
There was no bail at all? No bond?
No bail at all. Nothing. I had to do an emergent hearing.
With the bail reform and stuff, they're keeping you in there. That's just crazy.
I thought the same thing.
So you get out finally,
Mm-hmm.
you taste of freedom, and you know now you're like, oh my God, what do I do now?
Electronic monitoring.
Oh, you had the
Ankle bracelet?
I had an ankle bracelet.
Were you still getting paid?
When so for the first couple of months I was, and then in July the pay just magically stopped. It's not in you know, as the accreditation manager I can tell you, you know, the internal affairs guidelines and everything else. I knew what was supposed to happen, and the administration didn't really follow the script. So I was under electronic monitoring from May until September 25th of 2019. I'm now, it's like I still want to see my children. It's all this time. I'm back in the house. I now go before the family court, and they say, we're going to order a best interest evaluation, get a shrink involved. Who's going to pay for it? $2,000 a month in what they call pendente lite support, which is pending your divorce, that I had to pay my ex $2,000 a month, plus all the expenses, Schedule A, B, and C. And I also had to pay for a supervised visitation. The only way I could see them.
The guardian ad litem type of...
Not a guardian ad litem. It was supervised visitation, which means you have to go to a court-appointed supervisor that I had to pay $300-something for 1 hour to see my own children while I had a chaperone in a building.
Well, you got an ankle bracelet on.
The place was right across the street from police headquarters.
Oh, my gosh.
I went, and there was a very lovely woman in pretrial services who handled the bracelet, and she had she was an Islander. She had a lovely, like, Islander accent. She said, "What you doing here?" And I went, you know where I went to pretrial services? I went in a suit, because I'm a cop. Anytime you go before court or anything, like, you should show respect. You put a suit. I get there, there's pimps, there's drug addicts. I'm sitting in there. I'm looking. I'm like, oh, why'd you wear this? They're looking at me cross-eyed again. I go in there, and this woman says, "Why are you wearing a suit, child?" And I said, "I want to be leave it for court."
Yeah.
And you just come here. And she was another blessing from God, because she says, "This is political. There's no reason. I see this is." She was like, she had gangbangers, people, violent crime, because they never put them under. And I was under for 6 months. I'm driving to the visitation. You have to change the battery. When you go to sleep, if you forget to change the battery, it goes off and the violation is triggered. So you're changing the battery before shower. It's on there. I'm driving to the visitation, and the line that I'm on, I was one lane too close to my ex's residence, and it went off. As a violate, you're in a zone. You're in an exclusion zone. Get out. My phone starts ringing, and where are you? I said, this is where I am. She goes, yeah, I see you. Go in the other lane. Now you're good.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So, but you have to pick your life back up at some point.
Yeah.
Your job, what did they do with your job? Are you fired or you let go? What's
To date, I am
Suspended pending termination or
suspended without pay.
pending termination is
Yeah,
generally what they'll
they're
say.
trying to seek termination, but we see it differently.
yeah? Well, of course, this is your livelihood.
Now, how many years did you have on a job at that point?
23 and a half.
So you're a year and a half away from.
I even told my ex, I said, this is, I'm working jobs. I'm working overnight. I'm working like a lot of jobs. I said, we're going to get debt clear and we're going to retire so we can have a good life.
Yeah. So at some point, you're going through, and you're currently going through your legal battles, and that's going to be a whole other show in itself. You decide to get involved with this organization, which is kind of how we met.
Yeah,
It's called FACE, Fathers and Children Equality Incorporated.
that's correct.
Now, explain to what they do, because I know what they do, and they're, New Jersey is it's a state in the union that's very slated against the men in divorce. It's
Yeah.
just the way that it is.
And child custody
Yeah.
Yeah.
and domestic violence.
Absolutely. And they're all common denominators. And you guys can probably testify to this. Everybody that comes in here, and I don't like to put, and I'm sure you don't either, I don't put suffering on a scale.
It's personal.
It's your own.
It's your own.
But
Absolutely.
so I don't try and say one person's suffering or bad fortune is worse.
Watch
This
some of
is-
our back episodes. You'll be like, this guy's got it bad.
and I had lost I'd ran out of money. The criminal charges, I'll just let you know, those were dismissed and expunged.
Expunged. That's a big one.
But you did 12 days in jail
12?
because of those.
Absolutely. And I'll never get them back,
No.
right? So I prevailed. The prosecutor's office appealed. I prevailed on a motion to suppress. This goes to show you how they were looking to prosecute. I prevailed on a motion to suppress. They appealed it to the appellate division. I prevailed. The prosecutor's office appealed it to the New Jersey Supreme Court, and I prevailed.
Wow.
And I got it expunged after I did all my paperwork for my own expungement.
Dangerous man. Like I said in the beginning, you're a dangerous man
Fight the system.
because your brain, you know the law.
Yeah,
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is a weapon if you use it properly.
I'm a cog in the wheel. I thank you. Thank you.
No, I mean, he's 100% correct. Like you said, I mean, you told us before, you knew 2C laws, 39 laws, you knew the contract, I mean, you did your research, especially, going through the accreditation and all that.
I ran the Civilian Police Academy. I would do search and seizure training seminars and things like that. So now fast forward, the criminal is gone, and that's a roller coaster ride. 20 years in prison I was facing. Non-discretionary from the judge had zero discretion. 20 years in prison
For your father's guns.
for my father's lawfully purchased and inherited guns. When I first got those firearms, I went down to the PD and I said, listen, my father is a hunter. I got, it's a significant amount. What do I have to do? Well, in New Jersey, as draconian as the gun laws are, inheritance is a voluntary register. They gave me a little 2-piece carbonless thing that had 2 lines on it. They said, you could do it if you want, but you don't have to. So I didn't.
Yeah.
But now, supervised visitation, tens of thousands of dollars. My attorney quit because I couldn't pay them anymore, and I still have a bill. I then became my own family lawyer, pro se. Pro se is when you represent yourself. And it's 2 years now, and it's Christmas Eve, and I haven't seen my children. And I can only tell somebody, when parents talk about their kids, I'd kill for my kids. I'd die for my kids.
I said it last week. If my kids killed somebody, I'd help them bury the body and then sit in a jail cell for them.
I say I would give my last breath just so they could have one more.
Yep.
And I mean that with all my heart. And it's Christmas Eve, and my mind's going to some dark places. We know those places.
Yep.
And
Been there.
And I had contacted some people, and I was like, I'm not a man who looks for sympathy, but I'm a man who needs help. And I can't do this on my own. And I got a referral from another person, and our vice president, his name is Jeff Golden. Christmas Eve, there's tears in my eyes. I was like, this is it. This is all I got. And I said, this is organization Face. I sent him an email. Within 2 hours, he responded to me. You're on our mailing list. We got a Zoom call. Hop on. Give me a couple paragraphs on your incident, and we'll talk.
Hope.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to Face as a member, and I jumped on the call, and he started talking, and I was very upfront. I said, listen, I'm a police lieutenant. and he goes, all right.
Yeah.
So now it's like infiltrating a subculture, right? That you're a narc, right? Like, the biker gangs and everything, they're going to test you, except I told them. I wasn't hiding it. But for a while they were suspicious because they get people trying to infiltrate the group on the other side. And I had learned family law, and I started asking questions. He gave me some things to do, forms to fill out, how to go about it. And since that time, I've been on the call every night. I just became a regular, and I went from being the helped to the helper. And when people came on, I started
It's
telling
going to be
them what
soothing
do.
for you, though, now, too, right?
It's purpose.
Yeah.
So the funny thing, somebody just brought this to my attention, and they're 100% correct. People who have gone through trauma, like your trauma is your trauma, my trauma, it's all personal.
Yeah.
People who have gone through trauma have a higher tendency to become an advocate for the next person because they don't ever want that next person to go through what they had to go through. You've traveled down that road.
If you have a heart and a soul, you don't want someone to go through what you went through. So, like you said, you'd be the advocate to help those people.
If there was a man or woman that jumped on early on and said, here's the secret sauce to get out of your situation, I might not be here. I have to be that person.
Yeah.
If it's not for my own children, whatever life has in store for me, I got to pay it forward and do it for somebody else. And we have federal law enforcement that calls up. We have guys that jump on, and Jeff started in Pennsylvania. He's the vice president. It's in 32 years. This organization has been in existence. It's one of the longest running fathers' rights group that I know of, because they're a flash in the pan. You talk about the podcasting industry, longevity. A lot of guys start off strong and they fizzle out. You guys got it down right. These guys at Face got it down right.
7-8 episodes on a podcast is this nonprofit?
It is a 501c3 nonprofit, all volunteer. I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid. I volunteer every night. There's a meeting tonight, so after I leave here, I'm going to jump on. I got guys that call me now asking me what to do.
Feels good though, right?
There's a young lady that spoke to me the other day, and she used this sentence, and it cut right to my heart. It was a mental health thing. I was talking to people, and they told me what to do. She said, "You inspired me."
Yeah, it's nice
to get in a group.
It's a good feeling.
I said, "I'm a nobody from Nutley."
But you're not.
I'm the sad story. I'm a disgraced police lieutenant.
I think you got to stop thinking of yourself as a nobody, because you're helping people. That makes you a somebody, and you're somebody anyway. Whether you think so or not, you're somebody to your kids. When you were saying they had to drag your kids off you, you're somebody to your kids.
Yeah.
So, we joke around all the time and say we're nobodies. You're somebody to somebody.
So a nobody to me is somebody with, a couple $100,000 in the bank, 1 million followers on social media, and doesn't do anything with their influence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a nobody.
I heard a saying recently, if you have nothing else like behind it, like you guys do, like a great mission, being Instagram famous is like being Monopoly rich.
Yeah, I heard that. I read that one too. So where can we find Face and Jay?
Yeah, so you can get on. It's facenj.org. And we have meetings there. You go to the website. There's an info email. You can reach out. You can send an email. We get you on the meetings. The reason that I know this is I had an opportunity that Jeff Golden and Dave Fisher, he's the president. They said they have an opening on the board of directors.
Very good.
And they said, we're going to have a meeting. It was like a wise guy meeting. It was in a hotel. They all had
You have to kiss the ring and all that.
It was, I went there.
Saint, just remember, go hand to hand when you burn the saint.
And I went there, and it was, there's the whole board right there, and I'm walking. I wore a suit again.
Oh, you should have wore a hood. You should have wore a hood.
The Illuminati.
Yeah. Hey.
And I went in, and I'm on the board of directors, and I am, I hope, an instrument to help others when I get on. I have stories. And just to let you know, it says fathers and children's equality. There's a good amount of mothers on that call,
exactly.
too. Same-sex marriages. We have people that are co-parents and not married that are involved in family court.
I joke around with some of our LGBT friends.
Yeah.
I said, you guys ruined it. I'm going to tell you right now, you guys ruined it. The one thing gay people had is they couldn't get married. Hey, listen, I'd love to marry you, but I can't. And you guys went and changed that law. Good job. Good job.
What you're seeking a remedy that you really have. It's good.
You got it well. You got it well.
So there's a saying there is nothing that you can do unmarried that you can do married.
This is true.
Except for one thing. Get divorced.
Yeah.
That is the only thing.
Well, it's a legal contract amongst anything.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
The number one cause of divorce
Is marriage. Exactly.
no rehearsal here.
Yeah.
Tom, we're coming to the end of this thing here, and your story is still being written, but the meat and potatoes of it has led you to your purpose right now. But you've gone through an enormous amount of suffering. I want to know what it's taught you.
I'm thankful to be put in this position. I don't enjoy the suffering, believe me. But I have to leave a legacy. There's a term in Irish, and if Amanda Coleman is watching, please forgive me for my brogue. It's called macushla, and it's a term of endearment that I use for my daughters. And what it means literally in Gaelic is my pulse, my heart. And in Spanish, there's a similar
Cariño in Spanish.
mi corazón.
Mi corazón.
But cariño is, and listen, Andrew, you might have to chime in on this one. That's like
Your heart.
your heart. You bleed from your heart.
So depending where you're from, there's a few different ways of saying it. Some people say mi amor.
Yeah.
Some people say querida. Some people say
But it's
mi corazón.
it's also dialect driven as well.
Mi
Yes.
amor is my love, is right? Mi
Right.
amor.
Yes.
I'm placed in this position to leave a legacy that if for any reason my girls didn't know about the father, their father, or they're made to feel otherwise, I'm letting my girls know.
You know, the
You're
funny
my heart.
The funny thing about trauma is it works itself out when it's ready to work itself out.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe truth will come out. I believe in karma. I believe in all that stuff. And I believe karma is coming for you. And you're just paying into that karma bank, waiting for to cash the check one day, and you'll get there. I know you're going to get there. 'Cause you're a good man, Tom.
Very kind, and very, very proud to be here and privileged.
Hey, man, keep up the good work, man. You know, good
Thank
things
you.
come to good people.
I know you're helping one of our brothers who we think of as our family.
Absolutely.
And for that alone,
Can't thank you enough for that.
for nothing else, you take some phone calls away from me from him. No, I'm just kidding. I love when I talk to him.
And any day and twice on Sunday, any time of night, I'm proud to do it.
We'll keep fighting the good fight, my friend.
You got it, brother.
All right. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Domestic with Tom Flynn. As always, let's think about all the stuff that we learned. I am grateful for Mike Failace. The noble profession is a selfless act. Some events grow like cancer. Kids are the real victim when a relationship breaks up. But most importantly, knowledge is power, and knowledge is your greatest weapon. That's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to follow us on all social media: TikTok, Instagram, Clapper, Facebook, whatever else I'm missing.
Fans only.
Fans only, yes. Only fans.
Only fans, but I get that wrong every week.
Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We will see you on the next episode.